And everyone, welcome back for another episode of the Chamber Podcast. Today we are talking solutions, and to help us do that, I have the founder of MicroWorks Computing sitting in the studio with me today, Jane McManus. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Jane, we had a really interesting talk, and I wanted to stop it before we kept going, so I want to make sure we get all of this on the record. You were telling me about the history and the startup of the company and how it's evolved and how that organic growth took place. So I want to get into all of that. Before we do, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself for the listeners, and then we can dive a little bit more into the business.
I'm a graduate from Eastern Michigan University in operations research. And after I graduated, I was a contractor for ADP in the automotive business. And then that kind of went away when EDS and Ross Perot kind of bought, or whoever knows who bought who at that time. And I was just kind of looking for something to do, and I decided, how hard can it be to run a business? And so I did. And that was in 1988 when I founded the company.
So you were telling me about this night at Champs right across the street here. So tell me about that conversation, how it played out and what it led to.
Well, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was getting some calls from people who wanted me to support the system I had wrote for the automotive people, but it was going to be a lot of travel, 3 weeks maybe out of the month, 2 weeks. And my daughter was going off to college, and I thought, why would I want to be gone that long? And so I kept turning them down and said, no, I don't want to support that system. You guys bought it. You take care of it. And
it's your mess. You clean it up.
Yeah. And so we were out to dinner at Champs one night, and I said, you know what I really like to do when I was working in the automotive industry with the engineers in Lansing at BOC, which is no longer existent. I liked to show people how to use the computer as a tool to get the information they needed. And Mike, my husband, was working down the street at a company, Terminal Services, and they were doing a lot of support for the University of Michigan. And he was telling me about these PCs that were coming out, and people just didn't know how to use them. And I thought, I really like to do training and teach people, so maybe that's what I could do. And that's how we got started. It was a training company. I wrote all the programs and materials and put an ad in the Marketeer, and I filled all the classes before I even got them written completely. And so that's really how it started. It was a training company for people to use products that don't really exist right now, as Lotus, 123, WordStar, some DOS programs, most of the DOS commands, and I just enjoyed teaching people how to use the machine and not worry about, trying to program it.
Sure. That way they can actually use it for what it's intended for.
Right.
I want to go back to something that you just said, Jane, which I think is fascinating and to me is the true mark of a real entrepreneur. You had the vision for the company. You orchestrated all of the programs and classes that you would need to have in place to be successful. And then you ran an ad in the Marketeer, and which, by the way, George Moses, absolute pillar of Livingston County, Brighton community. I love to hear that was, the main marketing mechanism you used for that. But your classes, you weren't 100% done with them, but you believed in what you were doing and you had the vision for them to be completed, that you were 100% confident in running forward with it. And to me, that is, and it worked out well. Obviously, we're sitting here 35 years later, still going strong. Business is growing. To me, that is a really good mark of an entrepreneur, of someone who absolutely has a full vision of what they want to bring to life.
Yes, and I got a call from someone while I was working on these classes that they wanted a program written to do a commission for salespeople when they sold something. And I thought, boy, I really don't want to do that, but I'll put that in the ad. And when I did, that's how I got the call. And my husband, Mike, was doing a lot of programming at this contract job. And so I said to him, I think if we work together, we can really make something out of this and take it even farther than training. And so about 6 months after I started the company, he joined forces with me, and he took over the technology hardware side, and I was on the training and the finance side of the business.
How many interviews did he have to do?
Well, one or two.
Okay, good. I want to make sure those company standards stay high. We have to see at least twice, Mike, before we can get you a spot here. Excellent. So one thing that's really fascinating to me is companies that have endured through all of the massive changes that have happened with web. So 1988, obviously, the Macintosh came out in 1984. That was kind of the start of the revolution of home personal computers, right? And then in the 90s, we had Web 1.0 that graduated to Web 2.0. And now as we're sitting here in 2023, we are on the verge of Web 3.0, which leverages a lot more artificial intelligence and machine learning. And how have you reimagined and kind of redesigned your business through each of these phases in order to continue serving people with the new things that are coming and not being so stuck in, how things were in 1988?
We let the customers kind of give us the direction they want to go, and then we look for solutions to be able to accomplish that. We had one client that needed a database program because people would call this title company and he'd say, my name is Bob, where's my title? And they said, what's your title number? I don't know, my name is Bob. And the owner said, fix that for me. So we did, and that got it started. We just were customer focused. It's not one size fits all. Every customer has a different culture priority. We have never been stuck in one industry, like some technology companies only do dental or only attorneys. We have a wide variety of clients, customers with all different businesses, which has really helped when one industry kind of went down a little bit in certain times.
Sure.
We stayed level and kept growing. So that's been our philosophy. It's what the customer wants. It's not what we spend time talking to them to find out what's really important to them.
Well, that bears itself out in the longevity that you've had in that marketplace, right? That is an absolutely beautiful way of staying in business, is listening to the feedback and being able to sort the good recommendations from the bad ones, right? You can't do it all. You can't be everything to everybody. But you can certainly do a lot in terms of listening to the customers, because they're also going to have an inclination into where the marketplace is going, into where their businesses need to be in terms of technology. So if you had, kind of in today's era, so 2023, what are some of the things that you're doing for customers right now?
Well, I'm not that much technical. When people say, I got a quick computer question, I say, well, let me get the person who can really handle that. But we're doing a lot of things with protecting and recovery of information. If you had to, a lot of times people don't understand that their data is the most important thing that keeps their company going. Yeah. And if they lose that, how do they recreate it? How do they start over? So we have backups, and we don't believe that should be in one place stored, but in several places, because we had a fairly big company that we were doing a little work for, and They had all their data in one spot, and it was right in the desk drawer of their desk, and they had a fire.
Oh my goodness.
And they had to start all over again with any projects they had. So we've seen it, and, some people think it'll never happen to me, but it does every once in a while.
Yeah, I tell the story of my mom is a realtor, and she's been doing it for almost 30 years now. And when I first went to her office when I was a kid, they had, a local network, and you'd flip up the keyboard and all the passwords to the computers were underneath the keyboard. And sure enough, they were all password or some variation of that. And I just think about how much things have advanced since then and how important it is to have, a diversity of passwords and them all encrypted in a vault. And, it's amazing how much things have changed.
Absolutely. Especially when people shared them with other people in the office. That's really not very secure. You don't use your dog's name or your cat's name or your address or anything like that. And we are starting to encourage customers. We have a program that will gauge how many years it's good for before somebody can hack it. And it goes way out, 10,000 years, whatever, but they're long, very expanded, not like 3 or 4, 6 or 8 characters.
Not like welcome one.
No.
A little bit more tricky to hack. I love that.
Yes.
So Jane, what are a couple things that you're excited about this year that you guys are doing? What's about, programs or projects that you're working on that you're looking forward to?
We've got a lot of different customers that have different focuses that they want. So where we're going, sometimes we change because sometimes they want to wait a little bit, and then sometimes, let's do it now. We are, I guess the niche that we're really in is small businesses that we support can't justify having an IT person on staff full time. Mm-hmm. So when they need something, they'll call us, and we do it the amount of time that we spend there. So we don't believe service contracts benefit the customer, because a lot of them, when you do get a service contract, they don't put everything in it. So when you call and say, well, this doesn't work, well, that's not in the service contract. And so we just have never done that. And we have a real trust relationship with all our customers. We have keys to their house, because when they're on vacation and they want something they can't dial in or whatever, we go and take care of it.
Yeah. It's amazing the things that you are told in some forms of business school and how things actually play out, right? If you're in sales training, you need the contract, you need to lock them in, 3-year deals, and then you actually look at the application of that, and that can make people trust you a lot less. You don't need contracts, because if you don't want to work with me, I don't want to work with you either, probably, right?
Yeah.
It's based on trust and the actual relational aspect of the deal rather than just the transaction. And that's something I think a lot of younger people need to hear.
We're like family with our customers. If some big event comes up, they want to include us in it. One customer had a dog that was having puppies, so she says, you want to come over and we'll look at the puppies. And, it's like family. It's not just a client.
Yeah.
We're just very blessed because we just happen to get in at the right time with a good niche. And
you weren't afraid to change.
No, we are constantly changing and doing different directions because if we had stayed exactly as a training company, we wouldn't be in business anymore.
Yeah, we're DOS specialists. Well, that's a little irrelevant in 2023. We might have a customer or two here or there. But that's important. It's important to be able to change with those market trends. And I'm sure this isn't the last time you're going to change. It's going to keep happening. And that's the sign of a good business.
Absolutely. Yeah, it has to change. The only thing constant is change.
Absolutely. I love what you just said. It has to change. It has to evolve. It has to keep growing. And if it doesn't, that's a sign of stagnation and something you probably don't want to be a part of, right?
Right. And I've seen some businesses that just haven't changed and they're not here anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of that adapt or die mentality. Like you have to be able to pivot and move. So Jane, as we look to wrap up here, if someone wants to learn more about the business, get in contact with you, they have a smaller company and to kind of use your words, they can't necessarily afford a full-time IT person, but they need IT support fractionally. What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, they can call us. Our number is 810-229-6781. We have moved to a new office, a little more space, on Appian Way Drive. 101 is the building number, and we're in Suite 105. They'll call. We'll sit and, talk to them and find out what exactly they're looking for, and then we'll set an appointment to go out and see if they have a network. We will look and analyze what they have and where we think the shortfalls are and let them know what would be our things we would recommend. They just call us and we'll take care of it.
Excellent. And I'll make sure that we have all that included in the show notes as well, so people can get a hold of you should they want to learn more about what it is you do. Anything else before we wrap up today, Jane?
No, I just this is a great community to have a business in. We just happened to land in the right place. Had a good school system, had a mountain to ski on, and we came into town, and it just worked.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate all your hard work, both you and Mike, in building this, and it really does serve as a nice model for people to look at on what longevity in a small business community looks like. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and our daughter, who never wanted to work in a family business, she realized that this was probably a good place to be, and so she's probably been with us for 25 years.
Wow, that says a lot.
Or more.
Yeah, that says a lot about you guys and how you run the business and the family, and that's quite the accomplishment.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So, all right, everyone, that is going to wrap up today's episode. Appreciate you all watching, listening, wherever you happen to be doing that at. We appreciate it. Be sure to check out MicroWorks Computing. Check out their details in the show notes. And should you find yourselves in need of IT services, get a hold of them. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next week. Take care.